Okay, ready to go, Dave?
Yep.
All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Masmorra.
And I'm TheViper.
And this is episode 10 of the Town Center, your monthly podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires. And today, not only are we happy to reach double digits here on the show, we're also exceedingly happy to welcome Dave to the show. He's one of the most popular casters in the Age of Empires 2 scene, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, a long-time friend of both of us, actually, and a long overdue guest. So, Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and welcome to the Town Center.
Well, thank you for having me. It's amazing. You know, as a fellow podcaster, it's always a pleasure to make my way onto another show, the oldest running podcast in the scene.
What was it even called again?
At some point, it was called the Poopcast. That's
yeah,
what I remember.
Yeah, but we, and then Bullet got a job and he had to rename it. So it's the AoE Podcast now.
That's the AoE Pod. When was the last episode? Can we expect another one at some point?
Yeah, but the thing is that he comes up with a guest and he's like, "Hey, man, I don't really know this guy. Can you reach out to him?" And then it falls on me and it never gets done, right? So
all right.
That's where we're currently have been sitting for the last 4 months.
He probably has to be careful now as well because he's my insanity, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why he took down the early episodes.
Okay.
Some of those
what was
things
said on those things?
Yeah, that from like 2016. Some of those things should not see the light of day ever.
Wait, ever, was that ever. So? My episode with Damrod, it's the Black Sheep.
That
not there.
That one's on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah,
Spotify.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we could just put it all in the description box as well. So it's now called the AoE Podcast, probably the first ever Age of Empires podcast.
I think Zero Empires maybe did something before.
No, we did it. I think we did it before Zero Empires, but
was it Dreams? Maybe?
Dreams. Yeah, Dreams back in the day had a man. He was like a pioneer in so many ways when I think about it. But he had a little podcast, not little, but. You know what I mean?
I guess you wouldn't call it podcast back then. I think podcast is a rather new term.
It was more of a talk show back then, right? Rather like a talk show thing. By the way, Dreams popped up in my chat the other day. Like
I saw.
He has been around the last couple of months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's alive?
Yeah, I think he has even played some Age of Empires, so that's pretty cool.
He's played, yeah. You never fully go away from Age of Empires 2. It's just tale as old as time, right?
Yep.
In any case, Dave, I wanna hit you with the business right away, my friend. I want to start hitting you with the hard-hitting questions right from the beginning.
God.
What's with a blender giveaway meme that I see around your community all the time? I watch your streams so often, actually, and I have no clue what's that all about.
I don't either. I wouldn't. Someone mentioned it in my chat. They said I said something about a giveaway. I think it was during the what was that tournament sponsored by Clash of Pets, where I would just go overboard on the
Clash of Empires. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I would just go overboard on like, oh my god, I can't tell you how many times I've played Clash of Pets. You wouldn't be able to understand the number. Like it's just insane. You know, a great game. If you love pets, if you love clashing, get involved, you know? And someone asked about a blender giveaway or random other giveaways. And I said, no, there's no blender giveaway. And then it stuck. It's like one of those dumb jokes, you know, that just keep coming back. Like my wife is at the mall. It just keeps coming back. Yeah. There's no reason for it, but it keeps coming back. And then at some point as a streamer, you have to play into it. So like NAC 5, I found a blender in the kitchen. And I walked behind the couch at one point, and then that became a thing, right? Like that's an emote of me walking with this blender. So I don't know. I don't know, Dustin, if you can explain it.
That's the beautiful thing with Twitch and community, right? Someone can just say something randomly on a donation or a Twitch chat message, and suddenly you have like a whole meme, and you can make hours and hours of content.
Yeah, and suddenly you have a feeling of community. Everybody that's in on the joke belongs to the community, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
In any case, my friends, in today's show, the Hidden Cup 5 qualifiers are over, and we now have the 60 names of the players that will be participating in the main event. There are a lot of surprising names in the starting lineup, and we'll talk about how it all came to be, give our first impressions of the tournament, and maybe try to predict a little bit what to expect from the main event. Then we'll speculate about some of the major announcements that have been made in recent weeks in our scene. We have a pseudo announcement of an upcoming Red Bull tournament, but we also have an actual announcement of a campaign-only DLC for Age of Empires 2.
Really?
Yep.
Campaign only DLC?
You serious?
Yep.
You didn't
When
know
did that
about
come?
this?
What?
Viper, come on. Oh, Viper's just
podcast,
traumatized from campaigns, yeah.
Wait, what? There's a
he doesn't want
campaign
any more.
only
It's
DLC?
embarrassing
Pay
for him.
close attention. Pay close attention to this podcast. It's called the Town Center Podcast.
Okay.
I recommend you listen to it. And last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about Dave's career as a streamer, how he evaluates the current state of the game, the current climate on Twitch, and a bunch of other stuff. As always, my friends, if you enjoy the work we're doing here and you want to make sure we can keep bringing you these high quality podcasts, we need your support. Liking, commenting, and most importantly, subscribing to the channel would be very much appreciated. We're inching ever closer to 10,000 subscribers on the new channel, which is an awesome number. So thank you very much to everybody who's already subscribed to the channel. And thank you to those who will hopefully subscribe after this video. We're also on Spotify. The show is called Town Center and Age of Empires Podcast. And if that's how you prefer to listen to us, make sure to rate us 5 stars, my friends. 5. All right. Thanks. All right, my friends, the Hidden Cup 5 qualifiers finished roughly a week ago, and we still have another week till the main event starts. That will be February 25th, so don't forget to write it down in your calendars, to those of you who still use them. And I think the main thing that jumps out at me here about this qualifier is how many new-ish names we have in the list of players that made it to the main event, right? So there are 5 players who made it to a Hidden Cup for the first time. That would be Hart, Sato, Sebastian, Mihai, and Ganji. And that in of itself, I don't think it's very surprising because the last Hidden Cup was played 3 years ago or something. So I don't think anyone is surprised Hart or Sito are in there, right? But for Sebastian and Ganji, I believe this is their second top 16 participation in an S-tier 1v1 tournament. And for Mihai, I think it's the very first one. So in your mind, Dave, what explains this rise in new talents and new names at the top 16?
It's so weird, right? Because as Hera wins 5 S-tier events in a row, and it feels like the very top is kind of solidified, right? He's kind of taken over the old Viper role of winning absolutely everything right now. I'm not saying you can't take it back, buddy. I'm not saying you can't take it back. I'm just saying he's got it for now, all right? He's got it for now. The scene from like 10 to 30 is so competitive. On the players that are coming in, right? And then you get people like Nikov who seem like a lock for the tournament, for Hidden Cup. And he's in the same bracket as Baba Rum. And me personally, I look at that bracket and I completely skipped over that matchup. I didn't even think about that matchup. It felt like Baba Rum's a great player, but there's not that many closed maps in these Hidden Cup qualifiers where he really thrives. And Nikov should comfortably go by him. Plot twist, Nikov gets kicked out by Baba Rum. Part of that might be a lack of preparation on his part, not seeing an opponent worthy of, putting in the 10 practice sets or whatever he needs to get by them. Part of it might be that we switch back to 3-vil starts rather than 9-vil starts. And
interesting. Didn't think about it.
Another thing might be that there wasn't that many, like it wasn't the same sort of ban system as we had for NAC or for a lot of other tournaments. There weren't that many bans going in, right? I think there was 2 bans per person. Then you got to pick pretty meta civilizations. You have a 3 villager start. It's just kind of back to a pool of settings that we haven't had commonplace in maybe a year with the big events. So maybe that's affecting Nikov more than it would someone like Baba Rum, who didn't experience that same thing.
But isn't that also kind of where Nikov has shown his best capabilities through the past?
There was a lot of upsets here, Viper. I would make that argument coming in, but there was a lot of upsets, right? And I'm just using that set as an example. I mean, there was other ones throughout the qualifiers. The Stark Dogao set was unbelievable.
That was shocking.
Oh my goodness. And I think that was just like, it was definitely an upset, but it was more bad stylistic matchup on the game number 5 on Mudflow. Dogao didn't push because Dogao doesn't push in that situation. He just kind of sits back and booms, right? And Stark boomed better. Stark boomed and didn't care about military at all. So he ended up winning the set. But I mean, if you're going to explain the amount of upsets and new players for this Hidden Cup bracket, part of it is that there's a lot more people grinding. Part of it is that, the guys who were, in my opinion, the consensus favorites that got kicked out, maybe they're getting a little bit older and they don't have as much time to put into the game anymore. And the guys who are beating them are a little bit younger and they have that motivation, they have that grind, right? And then part of it is just a change up in settings versus the previous S tier events we've had, because we're back to the 3 vills and we're back to less bans, no random bans, stuff like that.
What's also interesting about the qualifier is that there were very few maps, and like all the maps were like extremely standard maps, right? There wasn't
7, I believe.
Yeah, there wasn't any new maps that, like, for example, maybe that's also a reason why a lot of the grinders were successful, right? Because there were no new tricky maps where you have to come up with new strategies or this and that, right? So maybe that also contributed. But yeah, upsets. I mean, I think upsets are very healthy for the scene. So It was a very positive and exciting qualifier overall.
And I have a very different explanation from you guys. I'm looking at more broad and more macro explanation. So I think it's no coincidence that Cito, Sebastian, and Mihai, so 3 of the players that made it for the first time, they are all in a team that actively supports their players. I think folks often have this idea that Gamer Legion is the only real team in the scene. Everybody else is just playing under the same tag, but that's it and nothing else. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. I took the time to speak to representatives for both My Insanity, which is Cito's team, and Fox, which is Mihai's team. Mihai and Sebastian's teams, and this is what they told me. So for My Insanity, I reached out to Bulletchin, so that would be Dave's co-host in the very first Age of Empires. Okay, not the very first Age of Empires podcast, but the Poopcast. Yeah, so this is what Bulletchin told me. They pay their players a salary depending on their performance, and I assume he means like tournament performance, right? So they also provide support for players' gear, travel expenses, and they don't take any cut from players' prize money. So this is not nothing.
That's awesome.
They are supporting players, right? And for Team Fox, I spoke with AoE Byzantines, which I believe is one of the founders, and he said he doesn't want to reveal whether players actually get a salary or not, and that's fair enough, of course, but they do get bonuses for performances as well. So for example, for each player who made it to Hidden Cup 5, they paid their team a bonus of $600. So I assume in this case, because it's 2 players, $1,200.
That's awesome.
They also constantly organize show matches for their players. They pay for top player coaching. So they've paid Hera. I know that Hera has been paid.
Guys, I'm open for this.
Well, you have this $500 price tag. Who's going to pay you for that?
I'm not even sure if we're on that website anymore. I don't know if are we doing the coaching with jail anymore? I don't even know. I haven't heard anything forever. I don't think I was ever on the website, though, to be fair. It's too expensive.
I think you were.
You were. Everyone was. Even Nilly was. Yeah, $500.
Yeah, no, but I never remember seeing myself. I know they added the others, but I kind of implied that I
Let me see what Timon says.
I was there. Was I more expensive than the others? I hope so.
He does not know. Anyway, so they pay for top player coaching. And very cool, they organize boot camps for all their players, even the international ones, because they're basically a French team. But
online
they have
or LAN?
Like in offline, in a spot, in a place in France. And they cover most of the expenses with equipment, travel, accommodation, and so on. So,
and they only just now qualified these people. Come on.
It's been a process, Viper. All right. Okay. Mark Gugu, I think, only joined that team less than a year ago.
Very recently,
from MYI.
Yeah. So in any case, this is absolutely not nothing.
Yeah,
I think
it's
this
huge.
is motivating folks to spend more time, and I think it's also easier for them to justify to their families and friends or whoever. This is why I'm spending more time grinding the game, right?
I mean, we were with Team Secret a couple of years back. Our terms were essentially just we get equipment and they give us a thumbs up if we do well, right? And post some tweet. That was more like exposure for Age of Empires thing rather than our individual benefits. But yeah, those terms, in my opinion, are amazing for those players.
Yeah. And I also think this goes a little bit in the direction of something that Nilia said last episode, which is in our scene, a little bit of investment goes a long way to give a lot of exposure to teams, right? I mean, I think it's pretty safe to assume none of these teams is actually spending 5 figures on their Age of Empires 2 teams. But just by virtue of having 2 players qualified to Hidden Cup 5, they now will have the chance to feature in like a 50,000, in a broadcast that will have like 50,000 viewers or probably even more, right? Now, in the case of Hidden Cup specifically, that's not the ideal tournament for teams. But again, this is not nothing. This is raising their profiles as well, right? Yeah. So, Dave, out of Sebastian, Mihai, and Ganji, I'd be curious, who's the one who's impressed you the most? So
Sebastian.
These are the ones. Sebastian. Okay.
From the second.
I didn't even give you time to finish the sentence there. Sebastian almost made it into the first qualifier of NAC 5 against ACCM in a best of 7.
That's pretty crazy.
In a best of 3 or best of 5, that seems maybe attainable, but best of 7, he even threw the final game. Like that's crazy.
Didn't he do really well in the both qualifiers?
No, I think he lost to Andy the second time around, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not that good.
No, just to make it clear, I'm mentioning these 3 names because they're the
Yeah.
ones with the least experience from the 5 ones that are making it for the first time.
But Miha and Ganji were both second chance, right? I think Sebastian went straight
Yeah.
through the winner's bracket.
I don't think he lost a game, did he?
Yeah, he went undefeated the whole
Yeah,
qualifier.
that's true.
He
That's
didn't
very
lose
true,
a game.
Yeah.
You asked
Yeah,
me who's the
that's
most
mind-blowing.
impressive. He didn't drop a single game. Like,
Mm.
it's crazy. And it's
Then-
funny too, because I had asked ACCM when we were at NAC 5 about that. And I asked him what Sebastian needed to do. And he said he needs to lose more games so he can learn how to like not put himself in that position that he was in that game 7, right? Where he's under all that pressure and stuff. And well, maybe he's lost enough. Maybe it's time now for him to start winning some sets in the big tournaments.
Or he just doesn't take ACCM's advice. Doesn't look like it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Too. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but like he has been performing really well, not only on tournaments but like on ladder as well. You face him in the higher rankings, and he's performing really well. You can tell there's a player there when you play him on ladder as well, right?
Right. So I was about to ask you, who has impressed you the most out of these 3 guys?
I can't say I've watched too many of the qualifier games, so I can't speak too many. But I mostly do like on the surface level, check the results and such. No, I mean it has to be Sebastian, right? You cannot. Mihai obviously as well. It's really cool to see him because he committed on Age of Empires I think last year, but then he kind of stopped, and then now he qualifies, right?
I think he stopped the
full-time streaming, yeah, and now he qualifies, so that's awesome for him. Yeah, it's impressive by him as well. Ganji has been around for a long time, right? But I feel like he has started putting a bit more effort into like tournaments and such the last 2-3 years maybe, and that's showing as well. Like in Ganji as well, like crazy strategies, crazy guy, can come up with anything. But yeah, Sebastian going undefeated through the bracket is.
And you know the good thing about us talking so many good things about Sebastian, he's not going to feel any pressure because nobody's going to know who he is. So no identity in the tournament. He's not going to be feeling pressured to do well, right? Yeah, Ganji has been around for a long time, and I feel the need to mention this because Ganji is yet another of those amazing talents that has been produced by that legendary school of talents called the Jedi Clan, for those of you who have been long enough in the scene. I don't think it's any coincidence. It's Ganji, Barld, and Hera. 3 names that have started their careers in the Jedi Clan, and 3 names that I've actually beat back in the day.
Only 2 of them are good Rage Force players, though.
Okay, everybody.
I think that's more important, honestly.
All right, so something else I'll be curious about, Dave. Of course, with the benefit of the hindsight and seeing how many new names we have now, fighting for the top 16 spots in tournaments, can we make the case that having half of those spots being taken away by direct invites shouldn't really be a thing anymore in these days?
I think, like, competitively you can, but our tournament structure is not based around 100% like competitive integrity, right? It's based around content coming in. And that's how we get the funding for tournaments. That's how we justify tournaments. And to be honest, without the big names in tournaments, there's no guarantee for streamers, especially with a landscape where people are getting upset all the time and you don't have a loser's bracket to go through. You know, if someone has a really bad day, like if Viper gets kicked out of a tournament qualifier, let's say you're in the best of 3 stage, right? And you get kicked out by someone like Ganji, which is, you can see happening. You can see happening if they come with prepared strats, right? It's happened to Jordan before.
I have an example. King of the Desert. I almost got knocked out by Simon in like one of the qualifiers.
I remember that. That was... And even the final game was tough for you. Yeah. I remember that
Man wrote to me, he would not be happy if I didn't.
But if you get kicked out, like your name has such high brand recognition, right? If you get kicked out, a tournament automatically loses 30% of its viewers, if not more. Just from you not being there. Now,
that's pressure.
People might disagree with that, but it's actually true. Like we know when we're putting on tournaments or when we're casting tournaments, like we know what final is going to get the most viewers. We know whatever. Right. So for 7 players to be invited there, especially when they're basically the consensus, like all 7 of them are in the top 10 discussion currently. The way that worked out is very nice for the tournament itself, in terms of getting eyes on there. Because what is Hidden Cup if the people watching don't really know or aren't familiar with the players behind those hidden names? It's
Absolutely,
nothing.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
True.
Right? It doesn't mean as much. So that worked out really nice for T90. It also worked out really nice for him that Back didn't respond to his messages for like 4 months. Because I think that's the one player that, you didn't really have an argument being involved based on previous Hidden Cup performances.
Yeah, right. Just to make it clear to viewers, so the strategy or like the criteria that T90 used in order to invite these 7 players was that I think it was the top 8 from the Hidden Cup 4, and Backty was one of those players. Now, Backty, who used to be an amazing player, he's kind of retired 2 years ago or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe T90 did reach out to him. And
well, he had to, right?
He had to, and I imagine he'd be hoping inside himself, please don't accept it, please don't accept it.
Well, what's crazy here is that Backty, like living in Vietnam, right? He essentially turned down, I'm not sure what the prize pool is for top 16.
Oh, true.
He essentially he straight up turned down whatever prize money that is, which
would be a guaranteed, I don't know what, like $1,000 or something.
1,000, 2,000 maybe.
Yeah,
that's crazy, right?
I didn't think about that. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, actually.
But that also goes to show like the problem with inviting people from 2-3 years ago, right? When was last Hidden Cup?
21,
yeah, which is 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
which is crazy, right?
I will add that it's not just, and I'll say something because I know people will, say T90 competitive integrity isn't there or whatever. He has, like, if you look at Titans League with the relegation and promotion system, if you look at the lack of random bans, if you look at him putting maps that are actually on the rank ladder in his tournaments, like, he is very, very interested in keeping that integrity alive, right? And the invite system is present in almost every single other tournament series we have. Look at Red Bull. Red Bull keeps finding ways to get doubt in their freaking tournament, right? Like Red Bull's like, yeah, we'll just get all of the champions. Oh, we got Viper. Oh, thank God. We got doubt. Oh my God. Hera, Lyria, perfect. Mysterio. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Right? Like, they're gonna keep like bringing back the champions because those are the big names that get people watching the game.
Yeah. That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point.
But the issue with this qualifier again was Taro, for example, last Hidden Cup,
to play it. Yep.
He lost to Hera in round 1, and suddenly he's like, who's at this point people say he's a clear top 4 player, no question about it. Right?
No doubt.
Yeah, and it's like
I would put him top 3, Viper, Hera, and Tato, in my opinion, right now.
I'd put him top 2 right now, so I don't know.
Well, Hera is 3rd? No, but yeah, also, but then again, Yo beat Tato in the NEC, right, for example, right? So that's why I always say top 4, because I feel like it's hard to exclude
it's
Yo
so hard.
or Tato in that regard.
The fact everybody can give different names.
Maybe I'm the one who should be excluded.
Okay, yeah, so I'd like to talk about the map specifically. So you already said we had like 7 maps, I believe, for the qualifier, and I believe that number has now been extended to 13 in the main event. So are you happy with the map pool?
I would like to play the new maps a bit more before I give my final verdict, but like Hidden Forts, for example.
Bruv, it's 1 week till Hidden Cup starts.
Oh, we start on Wednesday.
Always.
Yeah.
True.
We play way earlier than you guys. Watch it.
All right.
No, but yeah, like I'm not a big fan of Hidden Forts, for example. It's gimmicky. Okay, sure. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, Evacuation I think is cool, which is one of the maps. The other one that is new is called... Oh wait, maybe the one was 2 new maps.
Evacuation, isn't it the new one?
Yeah, Evacuation and Hidden Forts. Was there more? 2 new or 3? No, I just don't recall from the top of my head. But yeah, like Bypass, I think is a cool map, cool variant of Arena-ish, Hideout-ish. Quarry is still there. I'm not a big fan of Quarry, but yeah, overall, I think, he also brings back the success formula from previous Hidden Cups, right? Cup and Bay have always been popular, and he has enough of the other standard maps that are quite enjoyable. Gold Rush, I feel like it's overplayed a lot. Cross, maybe as well. I would like to see different variations of those or just remove them. But otherwise, map pool is as expected, and I think it's pretty solid.
Pretty standard. Okay, so Dave, Hera has talked about the fact that the maps in the qualifier tended to promote a somewhat boomier and slower approach to the game. So would you say that the 6 maps that T90 has now added to the map pool to make them 13, would you say that they sort of balance that and sort of are a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more open, or would you say they go in the same direction as the other maps?
We don't know, Nelson. Like, we haven't seen the meta develop. We don't know, right? People are training behind the scenes, potentially training. Viper apparently not training.
Oh, I am. I just need to play them more. Okay, relax.
Like, we like that Hidden Forts one, or
Yeah.
what's the one with the tree line and then all the
Hidden
rhinos?
Forts, yeah.
Hidden Forts, yeah. So I watched that in the one show match, and I remember T90 talking about that map, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to be a mule cart civ map. You know, they're going to cut through. It's going to be middle control, all sorts of aggression." And then we just watch as both players full wall, and one player booms up to 180 vills and goes Flemish Revolution. It's like, okay, Tristan, I'm on one hand, I'm kind of sad for you that your plans didn't pan out. On the other hand,
Yeah.
I'm kind of giggling because your plans clearly didn't pan out, and everyone's just going to boom on this map now, right? So,
all right, friends, pathing, of course, is always a theme, always a big topic, and at least it has been in the recent months. And the qualifier was played with a new patch that was only available to players and not to the wider public. And it was a patch that supposedly fixed some of the most egregious problems with pathing, namely the archer regrouping. And as far as I know, it actually did fix that, right? But it created other problems. If I'm not mistaken, like melee units were freezing randomly or stuff like that, right? Now, in the meantime, devs have released a PvP version. And what I think is in that PvP version is a new patch that addresses pathing, if I'm not mistaken. So
I thought it's just the same patch.
is
as
it just the
same,
same?
I think it's
Yeah.
Because
identical.
looking, but what exactly was the problem with melee units in the patch that was used in the qualifier?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've trained a few games now on this patch, right? And I have issues with the melee pathfinding.
You still have it.
Yeah, range regrouping feels a lot better.
Okay.
Borderline fixed. But yeah, melee pathing and melee regrouping, melee, like, units will stop and they will target weird things, and they won't target units you're targeting as well. It is a bit, yeah. It's not great, right? But
Okay.
I'd rather have melee pathing be a bit off than ranged pathing, because, I mean,
Well-
I'd rather have no pathing be off, but if I have to pick one to be a little bit worse, it's definitely melee pathing, so it's still better.
Okay, but are you guys playing with the pathing that is available right now in the PvP?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, because I did see like the notes, like the pathing notes, like dev notes or whatever, and they claim to have addressed the problem with melee units. Now, they could claim whatever. They've claimed a lot of stuff before, but I guess, yeah, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Have you tried it, Dave?
I have tried it. I did not notice. I haven't played many games on it. I basically like screwed around versus the computer when Tristan first gave me the patch, right? So the archer regrouping is beautiful. That is back to the way it was before, which is amazing, because I don't know if you saw that John Slow clip from the other day. Someone might have sent it to you, but he lost 40 archers. Then they shouldn't have been in the place that they were in. Like, they regrouped further than the furthest one forward, right? And he lost them all to a Magano, which is hilarious because it's John Slow. But as far as I understand it, Nelson, from what I read, they said they were tracking the issue. They hadn't fixed it. So it had to do with like units being put on like stand ground and then attacking stuff.
Correct.
And then they would go crazy because they tried to mess with that behavior. I don't think it affects like patrolling in mass amounts of nights. It's just when you're
on stand ground, you mean?
No, like it's just when you're single clicking a unit
to
target.
That's the main.
So when you have like 3 scouts, you want to target a villager, you usually put them on stand ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, you can still hold control and click, and it will mimic that behavior. But I'm too used to the stand ground click, right? I don't think about the control.
You cannot change.
But I did notice as well, when I patrol, like, let's say I have 10 knights and I patrol them, sometimes 2 or 3 of them will just stop and be stuck while the others go forward, which is a bit frustrating.
Well, then I guess for NAC, we saw no archers and only melee. I guess this time it's going to be only archers and no melee. Something I think it's worth noting, at least, and I would like to know how much you guys think it's going to play a role here. But Hidden Cup 5 is actually, with a $40,000 prize pool, is actually on a somewhat lower end of prize pools that we've been having for STO 1v1 tournaments. Which is pretty crazy to think about just from the start. Of course, one of the reasons for this is that T90 committed an unprecedented amount of money for the qualifiers, $10,000, I believe, was it, right? This is something he's been very vocal about, very passionate about, so I think it's really good that he's sort of putting his money where the mouth is. But just as an example, with the help of the community, NAC5 ended up having a $72,000 prize pool for the main event. Warlords 2 had $50,000. King of the Desert 5 had $80,000. It's pretty crazy to think about it. It was like a year ago. So do you see this fact somehow diminishing the appeal or the reach of the tournament, or not really? Or maybe even how seriously the players are going to take the tournament?
I mean, like... most of the players, like it's facts, will end up in 9th to 16th or 5th to 8th, right? So the price difference there isn't that big of a jump, right? Obviously, the probably first place, second place, there will be a more significant impact. But I don't think people will take it less serious or feel less motivated because of that. The more money, the better, of course. It just goes without saying. The tournament also gets more. When there's more at stake, there's more impact in terms of like you want to see your favorite win, or you don't want to see someone lose, or you want like the stakes are just way higher, which makes the tournament way more interesting, right? But of course, I mean, you would expect Hidden Cup that arguably is one of the biggest, maybe the biggest tournament next to Red Bull, to have a similar prize pool to the other S tier tournaments, right? So it is a bit surprising as well, but I'm not sure how his budget works with Microsoft in that regard, and also how much he has distributed to. Like he's doing watch parties, I think, in UK, USA, and Australia. If I'm
Australia too. I didn't know about the
maybe
one in Australia.
maybe I'm wrong here, but at least in London, I think, and in somewhere.
And maybe he's putting some funds towards those.
That's why I'm wondering. Maybe some of the budget has gone there.
Makes total sense
to make the tournament the biggest ever it can be, right? But I don't know. But again, I don't think the prize pool. I mean, it's $40,000. You're not going to complain about that,
Dave.
I mean, it is low. I know he was looking for other sponsors for the event. I don't know if he found them. I don't know if there's any announcements soon. He just told me he was looking for others, and there was some interest, right? So
okay,
I don't know if that's going to expand at all. Also, you have to keep in mind that Microsoft also funds Titans League as well. So it's kind of like, is there going to be another Titans League this year? Is he concerned about Hidden Cup?
Let me put a pin on that, Dave, sorry to interrupt. Let me put a pin on that. So we've talked to T90 recently here on the podcast. And from what I understood, Titans League will not be happening unless he gets an extra sponsor for Titans League. So he's going to use the money that he gets from Microsoft for Hidden Cup 5. Yeah. That's what I understood. T90, if you're listening, make sure to correct me, but this is what I believe.
But also on like budget, like each creator or big tournament host usually gets a fixed amount of budget every year. So like also like you have to decide how much goes where as well.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm building mine up, dude. I'm just accumulating.
Dave's gonna have a $500,000
tournament. And one year I'm just gonna drop like $500,000. Here we
Dave, Wandering Warriors Cup. Come on, make it happen.
Yeah,
second edition.
I mean, if I ever get the motivation for that, sure, yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about
lower prize pool, how
whether
it impacts.
The lower prize pool will have any impact in how the players take it seriously or not and stuff like that.
I don't think so. I think like long term, if the prize pools keep getting lower, it will. But for this specific event, no, I don't think so. Because even, the guys that are competing for first place, where you're getting the biggest chunk of change, Viper, you're not really looking at that prize pool as your sole motivator. Hera definitely isn't looking at that prize pool as his sole motivator. Like that guy just wants to win, or rather, he just doesn't want to lose. I think is his biggest motivation. And then all the other guys at the top, I would say like the only one really maybe looking at the dollar amount more heavily would be someone like ACCM potentially, where it really, really matters for him because of, the cost of living in Vietnam. That would be a huge win for ACCM.
Multiple children. Yeah. He's supporting his whole family from Asian First, right? So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
He's the sole breadwinner for the family.
I'm not sure if he's the sole breadwinner, but he's like responsible for
He's got 3 kids now.
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
I thought only 1.
He had a son. Wow. He had a son like a year and a few months ago. I think like November of 2022. I think.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the land before this, there was like the talk was he has one on the way.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was though, which land it was, but
the Grand Melee, his son was just born.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that was maybe that was it.
All right, my friends. So Hidden Cup has always been notorious for achieving extremely high viewership numbers. And even to this day, I believe Hidden Cup 4 is tied with Red Bull Wolo Legacy as the tournament with the highest peak viewership ever in the history of Age of Empires 2. I believe both hit around 75,000 live viewers. Hidden Cup 4 was played in March of 2021, sorry. So basically during the peak of the COVID pandemic, which as we all know has sort of been a boom and has massively helped the whole esports industry. T90 has already said his dream would be to beat that number. Do you guys see it happening?
Yes.
All right.
Yep. I think YouTube is going to drive that.
Yeah. That
in
might
my
be it.
opinion. T90 just started the YouTube streams. The numbers aren't as, wildly impressive as many other streams out there. I think he had like 3 or 4K on it, but those are his very first YouTube streams, and those are for qualifiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at Twitch, and he's getting like 8K, 9K for the matchups with players that people actually are familiar with, right? Like the MBL, Capotch, or whatever. And then you have all the other channels, if we're counting by just total views, because Red Bull did that, so we should use the same metric for T90, I think. But bigger than that is just the amount of build up to this tournament. I have never seen anything like it. If you look at Reddit, if you look at what people are talking about in Twitch chats, if you look at Discords, if you look at Twitter, everything. Like, you go to Reddit right now, there's going to be 1 out of every 4 posts is about Hidden Cup. We didn't even have that for Red Bull, and they rented out a freaking castle for us, man, and flew us all in, and had a Cobra car that Leary showed up in, right? Like there, you didn't have this level of buildup for something with potentially like millions of dollars worth of investment in it for the Red Bull events, and then you have this for Hidden Cup. People are on board. T90's got a huge following on YouTube. Is he going to blow those numbers out of the water? Probably not. But is he going to meet them or exceed them? I think so.
I believe
really
so overall as well, like with YouTube involved as well, like especially because it's all consecutively, right? All the streams every day, and I think that slow build up as well helps, because on YouTube you have a lot more of a range of spread as well, right? And if he has 3, 4, 5,000 now, when the main event comes around, that's probably going to be 6, 7, and the more and more that gets, the bigger and bigger it's going to spread on YouTube as well. So I think YouTube might, as Dave said, be the tipping point that maybe makes him break the record. But again, no matter what, if he gets 50, 60, 70,000 viewers, it's still going to be massive, right? But of course, T90 being T90, he probably has ambitions to.
Yeah, he won't be happy. He won't be happy if he's like 100 viewers over his previous peak.
He will still be like, he will smile and be like, oh, thanks, amazing event. But secretly, he's like going to punch the table and be
like the meme with the mask where you're crying behind the laughing mask.
But that's good, right? Ambition is always good.
Absolutely. And one thing to note is Nilly said that during NSC 5, the viewership in YouTube specifically has massively increased as the tournament went by, right? So
hit over 10K viewers, I think, on YouTube even.
And that's on his channel. With
on his channel.
How many subs is
40,000.
Like
40,000, yeah. T90's got 350,000 or something. 350,000, I believe. Yeah, so that would be amazing. I'm really happy to see that you guys think he's actually going to break it. I wasn't sure. Okay, so and to wrap up the whole Hidden Cup 5 discussion,
You want to know my name? My hero?
Yeah, no.
Sure.
No, don't tell me, dude. Don't tell me. No. I mean, we can cut this, but don't tell me.
Okay, tell us and we're going to bleep
You know Dave's hero?
I don't want to know who players are. I want to be the idiot who has no idea.
Not sharing anyway.
All right. Oh, well, at least I tried.
Something I want to bring up from like players' perspective with Hidden Cup. It's going to be way harder this year to predict who you're playing against.
Because?
Well, yes and no, but like because everyone are playing at the same time this time. Everyone will show up at the same time, same day, same time, and play each other. Well, previously it was all scheduled here and there, right?
So we're sort of in the middle. Between,
yeah.
Okay.
So I was like scheduling. Okay, I'm playing against someone from Europe, but I see Doubt is live streaming, Tato is live streaming. So I know like they cannot be those. MBL is live. Okay, cannot be MBL, right? You can all have all these things where you can like narrow it down to who it can be, right? But now everyone shows up at the same time and everyone plays at the same time. It's going to be way harder to predict for the players as well.
Actually, good to know. So I think that when T90 came up with the idea of Hidden Cup, he probably never imagined it would become his sort of flagship tournament, right? He probably just thought, hey, this is a cool idea. Let's try it once. If it works, it works. That's how it is. The only thing he kept bringing it just because of how insanely successful it was time after time. But in my opinion, there are some very clear drawbacks to having a massive STO tournament where the players' identities are hidden. Well, for one, teams and esports organizations are never going to be fans of it. We already talked about it with Neely today here too. For example, Timon sitting here behind the camera, he's been brainstorming for weeks how to promote the event on social media. He has no idea what to do because we don't know when our players are playing. Then we have single elimination brackets, which are not ideal. Random seeding, not ideal at all. Players can probably
depends who you ask.
I guess, well, these are things that have never been in a tournament, or they haven't been in a tournament in a long time in 18 Parts 2. So it's something that we kind of came away from or we've tried to. Now, I happen to think that T90 is a phenomenal caster. I love his commentary. He's well spoken. He knows a lot about the game. So Dave and T90 will forever be my favorite casting duo. So if you combine that with the fact that he's now this massive creator on Twitch, on YouTube, do you guys feel like he still needs to have this hidden identity thing in order to achieve this massive viewership numbers? Is the hidden aspect and then all the guessing, is that the thing that is making these tournaments so successful, or would he be able to do it even without the hidden identity thing, Dave?
It's fun. We play the game to have fun. We watch the
Right,
game
but
to
that
have
was not
fun.
the question. That
It's
was not
fun.
the question.
I don't think he'd have the same level of success with any other tournament that he does. That's Hidden
Okay.
Cup. Hidden Cup. So you talked about the beginnings of Hidden Cup. I was there, Nelson. This is 8 years ago or whatever, right? Like this was kind of a brainchild from T90 and a little bit of input from me when we were trying to figure out how to beat Viper, or how to, because every single tournament back then was just Viper's gonna stomp, and the excitement leading up to that was how well the other players were playing against each other. And if someone took one game off Viper, we suddenly got hyped because, oh my god, it's only 3-1 now. Imagine if he wins 3 in a row. Maybe he can upset him. So the thought process was, as he's explained many times, hidden identities, they won't know they're playing against Viper. They'll play with confidence and they can win. Viper ends up winning the first 3 hidden cups anyway, because, you're him. So it's just a tournament that by accident turned into something you can't turn off if you're invested in the tournament, because you don't know who anyone is. Tiramis explained it perfectly in his video that he did on it. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it because he did a fantastic job with that. But you don't know who anyone is. So how can you follow your favorite player unless you watch every single set? And that's what happens. And that's where you get the concurrent viewership. When you have concurrent viewership like that, it breeds more viewers, right? Because numbers, people will see that and say, hey, this thing is interesting to this many people. I'm going to tune in. And then they'll stay because they get invested, because they want to see who the people are behind the names. So it's just
final reveal.
It's a tournament that you can't match. It's a format that you can't match with a standard competitive bracket like we have in every other major S tier event.
I think it became something else than it was intended to be, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that was a good thing, because now it's standing on its own legs as its own thing. And I mean, the interest is there. Of course, it's not as competitively fair as other tournaments, but why does every tournament have to be the same, right? Hidden Cup is its own thing. It has massive success, and I mean, the numbers show it. So I think it should continue doing it. Like, whenever people ask me, like, do you like that Hidden Cup can be like random seeding? I'm like, no, I don't like it. But who cares? It's one tournament a year, maybe. And yeah, it's fun.
For me, it's fun because I always go through this cycle whenever a Hidden Cup is announced. Wow, a Hidden Cup hype. Then I start thinking, random seeding, hidden identities, really? Seriously? But then the games start, the commentary is amazing, the guessing games are so fun. Yeah. And man, was that a fun tournament, man. It's every time the same thing with me.
I think it's also good that it's short from a time period, right?
It's longer, I believe, than last time, right?
Yeah, but it's not week. Like, don't have 3-4 weeks of hidden players facing each other, right? It's just those days, and that means also the last time you saw the previous player, Jean Bureau, they will know. Like, you don't know, you will remember, I saw him 2 days ago, right? Let's watch him again, right? It's not like, Jean Bureau, did he play like 2 weeks ago? Was that when I saw him?
Right.
It's all happening
yesterday
exactly.
Yeah,
so I think that helps as well, since you have the hidden identities, that it's not too foreign when you come back to the stream the day after.
Awesome. All right, then moving on, my friends. Red Bull is finally given some signs of life again. We don't have an official announcement yet, but yeah, it's happening. Unfortunately, we can't do much more than simply report on this information, because obviously it's not our job to leak anything here. But I'll just say that considering this year is actually the 25th anniversary of Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings came out in 1999, I'd assume that's going to somehow play a role in the tournament. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. I'd be curious
to say what happened. They essentially, what they did, they changed their Discord logo to TBA.
There's
so
a
like
lot of
to be
hype for a
announced.
Discord logo change.
That's like,
man.
yeah,
I should
exactly.
do that. I should do that. Instant publicity.
Yeah, but they embraced the whole thing.
Yeah,
They started answering to people.
They start to tease, right?
Yeah,
so it's building up that something is happening.
All right, so I'd be curious, Dave, as a marketing expert yourself, in
With
case
the
folks did
blender.
not with the blender, what informs Red Bull's decision making of when to sponsor such a tournament? I wonder, why didn't we have a Red Bull last year? Why do we have one this year? What kind of signs or indicators are they looking for in order to make a decision like, so this year this thing is going to happen?
I think a lot of that has to do, talking with the Red Bull guys at the previous events, it probably has to do with their internal budgeting and what else is going on. So I can't say specifically why they wouldn't have funded that, but I can say that Viper and T90 coming back to Twitch would be a nice little push behind them, because that's a lot of exposure from those two, right? If they're looking at just stream hours watched, which is one of their primary metrics, that's huge. You're not going to get that sort of thing on Facebook. And the fact that, even if you're not restreaming on your channel, the Red Bull event itself, you're basically having all of those people that maybe weren't watching Age of Empires 2 anymore, that were still following your channels, re-engaged in the scene. So they can shift over to the Red Bull event and maybe re-engage with your YouTube, so they can go watch Red Bull on YouTube as well. So it's a little bit more viable now than it was after number 6, which was so grand, so crazy, and they're looking for something to match that level. You guys being back again, the two biggest content creators from the live stream space, is massive. It's huge.
I'm not sure if we can take credit for the event happening, but I'm sure they maybe look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's a nice boost as well. And yeah, 25 years makes sense, right? It all just comes together.
Played a role for sure. Okay, then, in case you did not know, Viper, we have now official confirmation the next DLC for
Really?
Age of Empires 2.
Like, I still don't know if this is true.
It's totally true. I'm saying it. Campaign-only DLC. And we were promised more information. Keep listening about that and a bunch of other stuff related to the Age of Empires franchise on an upcoming stream on the 23rd of February. You might want to tune into that. I searched for the link. I could not find it. I'm sure I'm going to be able to find it and put it in the description box down below.
Yeah, they're also going to show they already confirmed they're going to show Age of Mythology stuff and Age of Empires mobile stuff there as well. So we have Age of Mythology retold. I'm probably the most hyped game for me at the moment. I just can't wait to see how that turns out. I just really hope they do it well. Age of Empires mobile is obviously a different story. I'm not sure exactly how well Age of Empires translates to a mobile game, but I mean, the rising tides lift all boats type of thing, right? If Age of Empires mobile does well, maybe that also drips into Age of Empires otherwise. So hope for success.
I never played Age of Mythology, but I heard that the campaigns are probably one of the best
in
the whole franchise.
Prostagma?
Yeah.
It is amazing. People come to my chat all the time still and say Prostagma randomly.
Okay, I have no clue what that means, but it's probably
a line in
Age of Mythology meme. All right. Okay, but something else I'd be curious about, Dave. The fact they're now releasing campaign-only DLCs, combined with the whole profile icon DLC that we just had a couple of weeks ago, I believe pointing the direction of what Viper and I have been discussing here for a long time now. I believe that Microsoft might be testing the waters for a possible potential future where they could potentially make Age of Empires 2 a free-to-play game and then rely on all these extra things for monetization. So, though I emphasize that this is all just speculation on our part. What do you make of it, Dave? The campaign-only DLC and the potential Age of Empires 2 free-to-play thing?
Like animated icons.
Animated icons, amazing. Yeah,
me too.
It's incredible. Anything cosmetic that does not impact the gameplay. So I think we talked about it the last time I did a podcast with you, Nelson. I mentioned the campaign only DLCs, and then I remember I threw out a number. I was like, how much does it make to, or how much does it cost to make a single level? Like, what, you just pay a editor 20 grand and then make a level. And immediately after that was published, I get a message from Will from Microsoft, and he's like, are you high? Like, what do you think? This only costs 20 grand, And I'm just, I just threw out a number there, and obviously it was an idiotic number apparently, but that's an excellent idea. The mod center, the way that it is in Age of Empires 2 is great, because it allows for our community to upload whatever they want, visually and it can be imported into their game. You can turn your game into the Lord of the Rings on your side, and your opponent is still seeing you in the base Age of Empires 2 graphics.
Yeah.
However, it makes it very difficult to sell any sort of cosmetics because you can just replicate that and then upload it to the mods
and do it for free. Right.
So the icons is a great workaround for that. And I actually like those animated icons. They look pretty cool every time
they look really good.
joins up with those. And then the campaigns, if you price it reasonably, there's no reason that someone that doesn't want to spend money has to buy those. That's just for the people that want to play single player by themselves. If it makes the game more money, we can feed that into more development, more patches, more tournaments, potentially to draw more people in, which will then spend more on the campaigns. And it's a beautiful thing. So I really, really I like that direction.
Is it unfathomable? Yeah, exactly. Discrepancy, you know. Is it unreasonable, that's better, to assume that people that buy DLCs, like 90% don't play multiplayer? Is that a too high number?
No, I'd say probably, I'm spitballing, but I'd say like 75 maybe.
But even that, if 25% of people don't buy the next DLC, it's still going to be a massive
I think
success.
we actually know, because you have all these achievements where you say, have a victory with the Bohemians or have a victory with the Poles. So you could tell if you buy one DLC, you're probably, even though I don't know, if you win a game like in a campaign, does it count for the achievement? I'm actually not sure anymore.
I don't know. But my point is that I still think like there's so many people that would already, like these last couple of DLCs, I think primarily buy them for the DLCs.
A lot of them for sure.
They're not very steeply priced, right? So they are reasonable. And if you just want to chill, come home from work, you just want to play some campaign.
And the campaigns are awesome. I remember the Jadwiga. It's actually the only one that I actually played. I watched a lot of other ones.
That's the best one. Yeah, that's the best one.
Amazing one.
And you know what? It took me a lot to say that because I'm a big fan of the Conquerors campaigns. Like I love Attila the Hun, love the Aztec one, love the Spanish one. And Jadwiga blew me out of the water. That one was so good. The most recent ones weren't the greatest, but every time a DLC is released, because I love the campaigns and I have so many nostalgic memories as a kid playing them, I will take like a day off and just play through the campaigns.
Awesome.
Not for content,
like
nothing. I can't do it on stream. I just play through them myself.
I have a bit of information here. It's a little bit out of the topic, but I want to share it with you guys and with the viewers because I'm very interested in what you think about this. So it's a little bit out of topic, but recently one very smart fan of the show, he has messaged me with a piece of information that, if true, might help put into perspective a lot of Microsoft's sort of business decisions around the game. So we don't actually have any information on how many unique monthly users we have in Age of Empires 2, right? And I've been trying to get that information from Microsoft for ages, pun intended, to no avail. We know that roughly 45,000 people play ranked 1v1s in a month, 75,000 people play ranked games, team games, sorry. And we used to know how many people play the unranked games, unranked multiplayer games, but for whatever reason, at some point that information wasn't available anymore. But again, we have no clue how many people play the game in general. We only know that single players are the majority of the player base. Recently, though, the user Momobo96 messaged me saying that every time a new DLC is released, the main menu background changes. And that's basically a mod that you can download for the mod center, but the game downloads it automatically for you, whether you purchase the game or not. So his theory was, if you go to the mod center and you look how many times that mod has been downloaded, you can probably get a rough estimate of how many people
Isn't it like
are actively playing the game.
250K usually?
No, my friend, no. He looked at it just 5 or 6 weeks after the Mountain Royals was released, and that number was over 1 million.
Oh my god, they're farming, dude! They're farming money. Oh my god!
Wait a second, I'm not done. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, do you have to start the game in order for that download to start and process?
Okay, very good point, and that's a potential hole in this theory. Okay, because I think there's an option on Steam that if you just open Steam, all the games are just going to sort of update automatically. But I'd have to think that if the majority of the people have that on, you would have a lot more than 1 million.
Does background automatically download with the DLC, or do you get that background from just...
You get the background whether you have the DLC or not. As soon as you open the game, that thing is downloaded automatically to your game.
Over 1 million?
But the thing is, there is this option on Steam that you can just, as soon as you open Steam, every game you have on your Steam account is going to update automatically.
Mhm.
But I have to think the vast majority of people do not have this on, because if they did, you had to think that DE has sold a lot more times than just 1 million copies.
For sure.
So I would have to assume that the majority of people do not have that option on. I do not have it on. So to me, it's only starts updating the game whenever I say I want to start playing the game. And I would venture a guess that's the vast majority of people.
So my 90% guess wasn't that off.
So let's
maybe.
say we have like not 1 million, but maybe 800,000 people playing the game every month. What an amazing number is that?
Let's say that's the fact. Yeah, that's how it works. So that's awesome.
In turn,
God, this is like, dude, you're like taking one fact that may or may not be true, and then stretching it to another one, and then connecting it to another. Where's your board with all the little dots connected behind Nelson?
Listen, dude, I've been looking for this information for a long time, and this is the closest that I feel I am to getting to the.
Go ahead, go off. Go ahead.
I'm willing to listen to everybody's opinion on this. Am I missing something? Is Momobo96 missing something? Because I don't think he is. And if this number is correct, it puts in perspective again how little and how small the competitive scene is in the whole universe of Age of Empires 2, which is something that we keep hearing from Microsoft. Esports is too small. It's too small, esports. That's what we keep hearing from them, right?
I'm going to message Will.
Well, good luck. I've been trying for a long time. Anyway, I'd be curious to hear anybody's thoughts.
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know in the comment section down below. Okay, so moving on, I also want to give a shout to our February's custom map challenge. This one is called Cobra Racing Stadium, and it looks really fun. I gotta say, it's probably one of my favorite ones from a viewer perspective. You, Dave, you're a custom map scenario for those of you who do not know it. So what do you make of our little challenges that we've been putting out monthly?
I thought the Cobra one was beautiful. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I'm not gonna lie.
We're gonna have to cut that.
I think it's. Listen, we can start right here. I think it's a really well designed map. I think it's really cool, and I love that I now have Tato's voice every time I win a game. Every time I win a game, Victoria.
Only on your left ear, though.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. But it feels like he's right there. You know, like checkpoint. But yeah,
I was joking about the cutting, Dave. Please be honest. Let us know your thoughts.
I played so many custom scenarios that I'm very picky on what I like, right? But I can appreciate the fact that the map is beautiful. And I'm assuming that I had the wrong settings on because the cars were so far in front of me, I could never catch up.
Yeah, I think it just setting thing.
I think it just sucked.
Yeah, definitely a skill issue for sure. But the Magnite Madness one I love. The Magnite Madness one was great. That was, I think, like one of the best challenges I've played. And yeah, that's saying a lot. Even with the pathing off, that
true
challenge was amazing. So
yeah,
and the quick wall one that it all started with was beautiful.
What was the Alcatraz?
Alcatraz, yeah.
How it all started.
Did you ever
World
play
champion.
the second Alcatraz, Viper?
I played. I mean, he made like 6 or 7 different ones, didn't he, with Alcatraz? I only played the second one like a few times. I didn't carry on. I might revisit that in the future.
The co-op one, it was fun too. Me and T West did that for a while.
You have a record, right?
We had the record, and then some sweaty guys came along and took it from us with our very own strat. You know,
shame of them.
I mean, it's so funny too because I spent like 2 hours playing that with Bullet Chen. And he's hiding behind rocks, and he's on the other side, not working with me. You know, classic. Yeah. And then I play with T West, and within like an hour, we're almost breaking the record. You know, because we're figuring out precisely where we need to go and everything. It's just a difference in styles. But
how much did they beat your record with?
Oh, they probably like 6 seconds or something. I don't know. I don't remember. As soon as they broke it, it was dead to me. 100%.
You want me to jump into the saddle with you? Into the ring? We can take it back.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, no one cares anymore, champion. But we can take it back.
Right?
I'll make them care.
Looking forward.
7 videos incoming.
All right, Dave, my friend. Now that we got all the news out of the way, I'd like to focus on you specifically, just for a little bit. It feels to me like you've been streaming full time for an eternity. But if my calculations are correct, it's actually been only 2 years, 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. I guess it was September 2 years ago September 2022, 2 years ago. Yeah, 2022.
It's pretty crazy.
Or no,
Feels to me
was
been
it
forever.
2021? 2021?
It was
It was-
2021.
yeah,
it was 2021.
Well,
Yeah,
during
yeah,
COVID,
2021.
right?
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
2021. Well, that's when you guys left, right? So
Yeah.
and so so last time I interviewed you, you just mentioned it. That was in November 2022, right after Red Bull Legacy in Heidelberg. I have very fond memories of that podcast. You said when it comes to streaming, you were pretty much just taking things year by year. You know, I'm gonna stream 1 year. Let's see what happens, and then I decide if I keep streaming or not. So right now, as of right now, how do you feel about streaming? You're happy with your streaming career? Happy with your stream?
There's definitely things I could do better and differently for sure, but I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I get an incredible amount of support for the work that I put in. I don't deserve the support that I get, right? I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm still kind of going year by year on it, but it's looking more like a consistent job that I can do from my perspective. So we'll have to hope that this game lives on and I can keep doing Age of Empires 2 content and I won't have to mix it up because that'll be a lot more work on my end. But yeah, it's been a pretty good run for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you don't have like a limit, as in like, oh, I'm gonna do this now until June and then evaluate, or like Nelly would put okay, end of year, 31st of December, 23:59. I'm checking my analytics and deciding, right? You don't have it. You're just doing it. You're winging it, right?
Nilly and I are very different people, Viper, and you know this. And I think that's why we get along so well, because we have completely different perspectives on things, right? Obviously, I'm not unrealistic. I know the numbers, and I know when it will be time to start looking for something else or start trying to change something. But right now, it's working out. So why take a risk on something else when what I'm doing right now is working perfectly fine?
It's working.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dave, some folks have pointed out that when T90 and Viper left for Facebook, you might have been one of the biggest beneficiaries of the whole move, right? Because there were suddenly a lot of people that were orphans of streamers, so to speak. So now that you're back, now that they are back, sorry, what kind of an impact, if at all, has it had on your stream specifically? Did it hurt you? Did it help you? Nothing's changed?
I think there's a lot of new people coming in. I've noticed that. I get more followers now. There's a lot less Prime subs coming my way, but I'm fine with that because I understand completely, and I didn't get a huge portion of my subs in Primes anyway.
They're getting worse anyway, so don't worry.
Yeah. Prime is.
What do you mean it's getting worse?
Oh, Twitch CEO said something.
Wait, I know nothing about this. Please explain.
He said Prime will stick around in some form. That's what he said.
Yeah. No, but they have given the exact details. Every Prime sub will have a fixed count now, right? Depending on where, like in Germany, a Prime will be like €170 for the streamer. In London, it will be like 1.8 pounds. In Argentina, it will be like $1. Like every Prime sub will have a fixed number instead of like mimicking a regular sub.
Isn't that how it's always been, though?
No.
It's in the last couple of years.
Yeah, but
they never
like
had
50.
regional pricing for Prime. I don't think. Yeah,
it was always the same, and it was always 50 to 70% based on a contract. Now €1.5 will be like 25%. Like it's going to be a lot less compared to what Prime is giving currently.
Okay,
so it's a very bad change for creators. Is my point.
Yeah.
Back to Dave.
Back to Dave.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new people around. I think the thing for me is like, if everyone's streaming at the same time, it's going to be really difficult for me to get the viewer numbers that I was getting before, right? So if T90 is streaming, if Viper's streaming, if Hera's streaming, I can still maybe average 900 viewers, but I'm not going to be averaging the 1.6 or 1.7 or whatever that I was doing for a cast before they were all back. But that's, you know what? That's perfectly okay, because there's going to be times where you're not streaming. And I'm getting all those new followers, and I'm getting a lot of new people engaging in my stream. And to be fair to you guys, like, I just need to find those new people and then find the people that gel with the culture. I say culture over on my channel because it's very different from the other ones. on Twitch right now in the Age of Empires.
How would you
2
say
scene.
it's different?
Have you've been to my chat many times?
I watch your stream the whole time,
Yeah.
but how would you describe it? What exactly is different?
I think I now I'm gonna say this with like rose tinted glasses, right? Because it's my chat and I like them, but I think I engage with my viewers a lot more than any other caster does. Definitely, unless I'm co-casting with someone, and then I don't. I also I think kind of encourage them to just have fun in the chat and be a little bit dumb in the chat. And the thing is that most of the people being stupid in my chat with the dumb emotes and all this stuff that we have successful careers, right? Like my biggest sub gifter is a doctor who, or it's an oncologist basically. So he's researching cures for cancer. Yeah. And he's gifting me so many subs, and it's chemical. So he has the stick where he has to at me with every single message, right? With a stupid message. But that's just a prime example of someone who uses Age of Empires 2 as an outlet to just enjoy, right? And they're fine typing a bunch of stupid stuff as long as it's not offensive in the chat. I won't have any of that stuff, but they're fine typing stupid things in the chat because it's their way to just kind of escape from real life. So that's how I view my my chat culture.
Do you think, Dave, because like the way you portray yourself, if you will, on a Red Bull cast, for example, versus on your own personal stream, do you think people that don't know you, or like they only know you through like professional casting and comes to your stream, do you think they're like really like taken aback?
Yeah. I lose a lot of people. Yeah. I'm fully aware. Like I'm fully aware that I will never reach the level of T90 on his Twitch or YouTube doing the thing that I'm doing, like casting the way that I'm casting. I can turn that on if I want to, but it's very tiring for me, right? Like that's his natural state. That's not my natural state. My natural state is wandering around the map looking for trees that look weird, right? Because
corner check.
Because like I love the game, but I can't talk about the same thing for 20 minutes. I gotta mix it up somehow. And I'm constantly looking at the viewer number and I'm thinking like, man, there's 1,500 people here. They must be as bored as I am. I can't lose them, right? So I got to talk about whether a pizza is a sandwich or a salad. Like, come on now. You know, we got to mix it up a little bit.
And what is it?
Oh, a pizza's a sandwich, 100%.
Okay.
Open-faced, yeah.
Well, what were the options? A sandwich or
soup, salad, and ravioli.
Soup?
Yeah.
Okay, if he has enough tomato sauce, I guess. I don't know.
That's a lot of tomato sauce.
Anyway, I hate to break the hard-hitting questions and deep questions with this one. But, you know, Dave, one of the reasons Nilly gave for quitting full-time streaming was that he was too consumed by the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he said he was thinking about it all the time, and whenever he wasn't casting a big match, he would feel guilty about it and stuff like that. Interestingly enough, I seem to remember at least 2 occasions where you were streaming one tournament series, then a major one is just about to start, and you go like, okay, folks, I'm going to have dinner with my parents, or I'm going to hang out with my friends.
Yeah. And
everybody was just like, seriously? You're not going to be casting this one? No, I'm just going to pass you to whoever. So I wonder, do you not feel that pressure that Neely was talking about? Or you do feel it, but you're trying to combat that thing and trying to not be too consumed by the game and not trying to get into this loop of thinking about numbers by trying to have sort of a social life outside of the game?
I mean, I've had so many jobs in my life at age. I'm turning 34 in 2 days or whatever, 3 days, right? Ooh, I've had so many jobs, and every single one that has gone longer than 2 years, I've just lost all interest in. Basically, it's like it's basically a rule for me, right? So this one, because it's a passion of mine and because it's also a job, I have to be very careful. So if I feel my motivation dipping, I'm out. I'm gone. Like, I'm not going to stay there and grind my way through. I'll do it at an event. I'll cast for 10, 12 hours at an event. Or if someone else is relying on me to be there, I'll be there and casting for that. But on my own personal channel, no. It's not worth it, right? I don't want to be the guy who feels like he needs to cast every single set And if I'm ever in a position where I need to cast every single set to make a living, then this isn't the living for me. I'll go back to marketing and find another job. Like it's just, it's there. I definitely am a relatively lazy individual in general. And I'll admit that freely all the time, right? Like people ask me, why aren't you streaming that day? Oh, I didn't feel like it. I'm lazy. Like, what do you want from me? Right. But it's working. And as long as I'm still feeling some enjoyment for the game, I'm not going to try and ruin that by going overboard. I have limits. I realize I have limits, and I'm going to try and stick to those limits so that I can stay involved for as long as possible.
I think that's smart. I mean, I had a similar scenario a couple of years back where I just took a break from streaming for a long time because I was always trying to do the things that I knew viewers would like community games, things like that. But like it was a grind, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I kept forcing myself to do it because I knew people liked it. And eventually, I just hit something where it's like, I just don't feel like anything right now, right? So I think the way you're approaching it is very healthy for hopefully yourself as an individual and for your longevity within the career you have chosen.
But sorry, Dave, I'm not sure I understood you. You don't feel the pressure to cast a game that you're actually not really feeling like casting, but you know would be good for you? You not feel that pressure at all? Or you feel the pressure and you say, okay, I know it's better for me to just go away from the computer, even if I really want to cast this game.
I feel
even if I really know it's a good game.
I feel that pressure a little bit, yeah. And especially when I'm not streaming and there's something going on, even if I'm not excited about it, I feel the pressure in like the back of my head and I'll think about it. And then I have to shift my focus to something else because it's not worth dwelling on that, right? What's done is done. And if I get on, all I'm going to be is salty. I'm going to be irritable. And that's not a position that I want to be in, kind of interactive with my chat. I already get that way sometimes, and I hate myself when I get that way. So it's better that I just don't press the go live button and I don't put myself in that position where I'm then hating the fact that I'm talking to my chat that way, or I'm feeling frustrated or annoyed or whatever by whatever job is in front of me. Not for me.
That's the thing with live stream. Yeah. With live streaming, you put on the best show when you're feeling good yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're going on and not feeling like it, the stream isn't going to be good.
I imagine that's one of the hardest things as a streamer, and that a lot of people probably don't really acknowledge or don't really know, is that, okay, sometimes it's going to be amazing. There's a $50,000 tournament happening that's going to be amazing, of course. But what happens in between when you don't have those amazing events going on, right? I think this is something you talked about last interview as well, Dave, right? That there were a lot of amazing moments, but then the moments in between, what do you do there, right? I seem to remember you talking about this, that those were the hardest moments for you.
The dips are very demotivating. The email you get from Streamlabs, I don't know if you get them, Viper, where it sums up your stream. And that you can read it in the title in the preview on your phone, and it says like you had 80% increase in followers today, and you're like, yeah. And then as soon as that title or the little preview says like, keep up the grind, you know that every single number is going to be in the red, because if they had a number in the green, they would lead with that, right? So those types of things are even if you're in a position like me where I'm getting the support that I want, and I'm getting the support that I don't even feel like I deserve sometimes. If I have some down days, those still kind of impact me. And it's not great, especially when you don't have a huge lineup of big events. Like we've been in a pretty general lull ever since NAC 5 concluded. We had some of the Hidden Cup qualifiers, right? But other than that, there hasn't been much at all. And it's been, a lot of kind of emails like that coming into me. So this month has been a little bit like that, but you have to constantly remind yourself that it will turn around.
Yeah.
There are big events coming. Maybe I just need to put in more work to try and differentiate my stream from others, or try and find some new type of content that people are really enjoying in the meantime.
Right. That's like every job has mundane tasks and mundane. It's just how it is, right? Streaming is no different. A few years ago, Dave, you and T90 hosted the Wandering Warriors Cup. I did allude to that earlier. That was one of my favorite tournaments in a long time. I really enjoyed the whole Nomad start, and it was a lot of fun, and I also may have won it, but that's not the point. Is there any plans for you to host anything else? Because I think in the last couple of years, you have only really done Wandering Warriors Cup. That you have been as a host as well.
I've done that, and then I've done a bunch of like random one-day show matches.
Yeah, I've been a part of them recently.
Yeah. But every time I host that, I'm like, I have $300 to players, and I say like, are you willing to play? And then they're like, no, I don't want to play. And it's like, oh, it's a best of 3 or best of 5. Why not? But anyway, if I get excited about the tournament settings or any maps, then yes. If I'm not excited about it, then it's not worth my time to host the tournament. I could grow my channel by doing that for sure. Like Wandering Warriors Cup, still my viewer high, coming in, everything like that. But if I'm not excited about it, it goes back to the motivation thing. I'm not going to do it, right? So,
are you not excited for Wandering Warriors Cup too? Does it not excite you?
A little bit. I'm getting more and more excited with every month, right? So at some point, maybe I'll try and host it again. Remember, I did it as a co-host with T90, so I'll have to reach out to him and see. But yeah, maybe we'll do it again. I'll have to see. There hasn't been a great Nomad Start tournament in a long time, and I really want to see Houseboat again. So
no, okay, not except that one. I like every other map.
I love casting that map because I love how messy the games turn out, and I love how pissed off I know all the players are when they have to switch all the villagers with the transfer. It makes me so warm and bubbly inside.
You know what? I think I like it now because I've started enjoying fish booming a lot. So I think my perspective on Houseboat has changed.
Yeah.
But like, can I ask, like, regarding, like, we know that a lot of tournament hosts have been getting like a fixed budget from Microsoft. Have you also been in talks with Microsoft where they have given you like a fixed budget yearly, or like do you just reach out whenever you feel like hosting something and then see what happens?
I've never really talked to them at all.
Okay.
Even for Wandering Warriors Cup, it was kind of like they approached me because Age of Empires 4 came out and there was no events for AoE 2.
Right.
And it was kind of like, hey, I think it was Nilly at the time. It was like, hey, we've got this money. T90 and Viper no longer on Twitch. Mem just had a big tournament, but we have nothing coming up. Would you be able to do this? And I reached out to Tristan, who had just gone over to Facebook at the time. And it was kind of like, it was within a month we got that set up, right? We had the help of Zini, obviously, and everything went relatively smoothly. But other than that, like, I don't know what my budget would be. I think the last time I talked to somebody about it was Nilly, and that was 2 years ago or whatever, because Nilly's very proactive with that sort of thing. He'll reach out and talk.
Right.
So if you were to do another tournament at any point, would it guaranteed be Wandering Warriors Cup 2, or is there anything else you would maybe consider?
It would probably be Wandering Warriors 2. There's another, like, I would want to host a comprehensive tournament, which was like, my dream tournament is like a bunch of stages where the Empire Wars ladder currently rotates on a monthly basis. Now, this is a whole involved idea, so I'm taking you with me, right? The Empire Wars ladder monthly rotates. Empire Wars gets replaced completely. It gets replaced with like Nomad for a month, or Mega Random for a month, or Arabia for a month, or Arena for a month, or Gold Rush for a month. And then you have all of these over a year-long span or whatever, in 12 months of those different maps. And then you take whoever came first on each of those ladders and put them into a Masters tournament at the end of the year. So you have, and obviously if you came first and then you come first again, you're excluded because you're already invited, right?
Right.
Then you have like the Nomad Master, the Arabia Master, the Gold Rush Master, the Arena Master. And then that promotes the pros going for that top spot and being super competitive on the ladder, right? Is it perfect? Probably not. Is there a way to exploit the system? Maybe. But
yes,
I mean, that's like, that's my,
I'm interested. Would you expect the guy who wins the Arabia to be the one who wins the whole thing as well? Or not necessarily?
No.
Because we have this idea that Arabia is like the most standard.
I mean, it depends on, like, is the final coming together just everyone playing each other on every single map, and then whoever has the most wins?
Yeah,
overall?
the draft would be easy because the map draft would be all of those, and then you can have a certain amount of bans and a certain amount of whatever. But the player who won on that, my idea would be the player who won on that map, that would be their home map, and that would be a map you can't ban. if you're the opponent.
Ah, sick.
So you'd
Actually,
have to fight them on that.
it sounds fun, but it's also extremely ambitious and unlikely to
I
happen.
that's why I said like okay, so there's me, right? There's me that doesn't want to host a tournament because I'm too lazy, right? And then
you do that.
let me tell you about this 12 stage fucking round.
A whole year event.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that would be pretty cool. But that's what it takes to get me excited about a tournament, right? It takes something like that that's so different from the stuff we've had previously, and that's kind of where I could see like growing my content. Is just doing things very differently than others. That's what I like to look at.
Just don't make it a year project, and I have faith.
Yeah.
And in terms of other content that you might be interested in doing, is there anything that you're thinking about right now, or is just going to let things be as they are?
So I, as I was telling you guys, I'm currently working on a video that's very much like my Island Empire video, which was a year ago.
That was
Like one of your most, or maybe the most successful video you have on YouTube right now.
One of them, I think it was about 30 minutes long. It's got like 200,000 views right now.
Wow.
It was a narrative adventure kind of Age of Empires video. And that's the style that I want my entire YouTube channel to be. Because I don't think I think the casts are a very Twitch thing for me, right? It doesn't translate all that well over to YouTube for me because of how I engage with my audience. I think that's a huge untouched area of Age of Empires 2 content on YouTube. And part of that is because it's very difficult. Trust me, this video, I had planned to finish it and release it before this podcast so that I could talk about it. And now it's working its way so that like every minute of the video is taking up like 2 hours of my time. It's so stupid and it's just a beast. And I don't know when it's going to be completed, but it will be completed at some point. And I hope that the reception to it is as good as the last one, because the last one probably took 50 hours to make something like that.
You do everything yourself,
right?
Yeah,
all the editing, all the recording.
Yeah, so you play the game and then you watch it back in Capture Age and film all the scenes, and then you realize that you didn't film the right thing, so you have to watch the whole thing back again.
God.
And then Capture Age inevitably crashes at some point, so you can't even use the timeline thing. You got to go all the way back and film it again. And then the music and the voiceovers, and then you realize that I don't have a pop filter on my microphone, so every time I say P, it's right. Then I have to go into the audio and like equalize it down so you don't have the the P.
How much time have you spent so far on the current one?
20 hours, 30 hours, something like that.
How many more are you expecting to spend?
It's probably halfway done. Yeah.
That's a beast.
That's a lot.
That video better be good, bro.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I know. I wanted it to be done by this so that I didn't have to like hype something up. But yeah, the narrative style, I'm trying to find a way, and I've thought about it a lot, how to transfer a live version of that I do on Twitch and then just upload those videos to YouTube. I think it's very, very difficult. If I were to, let's say I were to cast an entire game and I were to assign a character and a backstory to every single unit that I'm following currently and have music in the background. The music I can do with the Stream Deck, right? I can push whenever the mood shifts.
Yeah.
The narration I could do, but it's piecing it all together with the camera movement and everything, and hoping that Twitch is somehow engaged with that.
Yeah. You have to be so creative as well with the narration. Yeah.
I think I can do it. I'm just nervous because it's very difficult.
If anyone can do it, I would put you up there.
Yeah, I would put you up there as well. Yeah.
But that's a huge gap in Age of Empires content that I think I can do, and we'll see if it ends up happening. Like I said, I'm lazy, so
yeah. I mean, this project is very impressive for a lazy guy, I have to say. But I mean, like your first video did amazing, right? So there is definitely an audience there for this type of content.
Indeed.
So you should definitely pursue that when you are not that lazy. I was gonna say, do you know how far back me and Dave goes, by the way?
Ooh.
Do you even know?
Okay,
I don't even think you know the client that we met on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole Lord of the Rings stuff. I remember you guys playing that. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like 15 years or something.
It was called X-Fire?
X-Fire, dude.
X-Fire.
X-Fire, where you would wait for 5 hours because you had to get 8 people in this room, and then you would get 8 people in, and then there'd be 2 of them bickering over who wants to play dwarves. And then the whole thing would fall apart. Everything would fall apart. One of them would leave. He said, I have to play dwarves. No, you're playing hobbits. I don't want to play hobbits. I have to play dwarves. And the whole thing would just fall apart.
Back when we joined with IP addresses.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And, TCP IP. I
yeah,
remember that.
we had to, everyone had to join in a very specific order to play the correct race.
And how would you communicate, right? Because then
X-Fire.
Yeah,
X-Fire was like a chatting client kind of thing where you could make rooms where people join and such.
Like ICQ and stuff.
And
like
you had to get Hamachi as well.
Oh yeah, Hamachi too.
Hamachi. Forgot about that one.
And then someone would have 30 ping, and you'd be like, "Did you get Hamachi?" "Oh, I didn't get Hamachi." "Download it." "I don't want to download Hamachi." And then they'd leave and just be like, "I've been here for 4.5 hours." You'd literally be contacting people. You'd be like, "Man, I'm gonna look them up on Facebook and see if I can find their cell phone number." And then you'd call them.
He's not even joking.
Amazing.
But that's also like the fact that we met back then, right? I wasn't the Viper. I was TDR Aragorn or whatever.
Yeah.
He was Vicious Marauder back then as well. But like the fact that we're now here in Age of Empires, both full-time streamers.
It's crazy.
Not even like we play scenario, Lord of the Rings scenario, over and over, the same map, over and over and over, every vacation, every free time. And now we're here like in a different genre of Age of Empires, and we're both making a living out of it. It's pretty insane.
Pretty insane indeed. All right, Dave, my friend, listen, this was a lot of fun with you, as it always is. I thank you so very much for taking the time to be here, and I'll see you soon, I hope.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Everyone, subscribe, like the video, hit that bell button, and we'll see you later.
I never say the bell button.
The bell.
Let's get to the bell button. It's just to get notifications.
I never do the bell thing either.
Yeah, we need to improve. All right,
Bell,
guys.
Bell was a pleasure. Bell. I called you Bell. Dave, was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was really fun, Dave. Thank you so much. And you heard the man, guys. Do as he says, and we'll see you next time.